Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are going to pick up where we left off a couple weeks ago, talking about Korgos Kul. Amongst the greatest of Khorne's mortal champions, Korgos Kul has made the subjugation of Akshi his personal crusade. He is a mighty warrior and a fearsome leader both, his demon hound Grizzlemaw snarling at his side as his monstrous axe tears holes in reality itself. The realms tremble before the dread of Korgos Kul. He is a darkly glorious warrior king, the master of a nation of blood-mad killers. However, as spectacularly successful as Korgos Kul is, he still desires more. Such is Kul's power that he has raised up a pyramid of skulls as high as a mountain in Braes of Khorne, hoping by this gruesome act to earn his final reward of demonhood and immortality. Yet Kul is plagued by a gnawing suspicion that, having climbed almost to the pinnacle of Khorne's favor, his grip is slipping. Ever since he first swung an axe, Korgos Kul has held himself to a twisted sort of warrior's honor. But in recent years, the Lord of the Gore Tide has been tempted into betraying his own blasphemous code by the nearness of his prize. He has bolstered his numbers with blood reaver tribes, despite his distaste for their corpse-eating degeneracy. He has loosed wrathmongers into his enemies' stockades, and seen the foe tear themselves apart in the grip of madness, rather than fight in honorable battle. Worse still, worthy quarry have become harder and harder to come by, leaving Kul bereft of a hero's skull to cap his towering pyramid. For all his creeping doubts, however, Korgos Kul is still amongst the greatest of the mighty lords of Khorne. Now, the arrival of the Stormcast Eternals has presented him with a golden opportunity. In the Hammers of Sigmar, Kul faces worthy foes against whom he can win fresh glories. Better yet, in Vandus Hammerhand, Kul has finally found a nemesis whose skull must surely earn him his place at Khorne's right hand. This may be Korgos Kul's last chance at true greatness, and after an age of battle, it is not a chance he intends to let slip through his fingers. Valkia the Bloody. A murderous and unforgiving warrior queen, Valkia the Bloody swoops over the battlefield on crimson wings. A brimstone gale howls before her, the Gore Queen diving from its midst to fall upon her foes with deafening screams of rage. The merest rumor of Valkia the Bloody evokes terror throughout the mortal realms. She is known by many names. To the tribes of Akshi, she is the Gore Queen, while the peoples of Hish know her as Lady Wrath. The Bone Chewers of Skulltop Forest tell odd tales of the Red Spear, while to the Dwarden of Rockenfall, she is known only as the Blood Witch. Valkia is a dark legend, a killer whose brutal hordes strike without warning and leave only mangled corpses in their wake. In truth, Valkia is all of these things, and worse. Legend says that she was once a mortal warrior, an ambitious and merciless tribal chief who dedicated herself to the blood god. So cruel was Valkia that her own tribe gathered in a great horde to strike her down. Betrayed and alone, still the Khorne Queen fought with such fury that her spear, Sleipnir, slew hundreds before she was finally dragged down and slain. Khorne was so impressed that he breathed new life into Valkia's mangled corpse. With a wrathful scream, Valkia was reborn as a winged demon queen. She tore apart the surviving members of her tribe before plunging into Khorne's realm to carve out a fitting kingdom for herself. There she has dwelt ever since, the undisputed ruler of a volcanic fastness known as Mount Ashenfell. Valkia rules over demon and mortal alike, for she is high in Khorne's favor. All know that to defy Valkia is to court not only her notorious temper, but that of the blood god himself. The Khorne Queen raids the mortal realms often, leading mighty hosts of bloodbound and demons into savage battle for the blood god's pleasure. Valkia has fallen on several occasions, slain by mighty foes. Yet by the will of Khorne, she always returns to seek revenge. Khorne's servants fight all the harder with the Khorne Queen's eyes upon them, for it is within her gift to return those who impressed her to life. Their blood burning with demonic fury, the worthy rise once more, fighting on despite the mortal wounds that disfigure their ravaged bodies. Only after battle's end do they truly die, their souls drawn towards Valkia's domain to fight phantom battles through the tunnels and chambers of Mount Ashenfell forevermore. Skarr Bloodwrath. Skarr Bloodwrath is one of Khorne's most favored, an immortal berserker who is endlessly reborn from the spilt lifeblood of those he slays. Nothing slows Skarr's killing frenzy for even a moment, and few thoughts remain within his mind that are not of death or destruction. To face Skarr Bloodwrath is to stand against the unbridled rage of Khorne. Screaming with mindless fury, Bloodwrath hurls himself into battle like a wild beast. His bloodstorm blades whirl around him in tight arcs, leaving crimson contrails of blood as they open throats, sever limbs, and lop off heads like a razor-edged cyclone. Foes rarely get close enough to land a blow on him without being sliced into a blizzard of wet viscera. Even should Skarr be slain by sufficiently determined or devious foes, he will not stay dead. So long as Khorne's power flows through the realms, Skarr Bloodwrath will always be reborn. Sometimes his return will be almost instantaneous, while on other occasions he has remained dead for years, even decades at a time. There were several periods during the Age of Chaos when Bloodwrath faded into legend entirely. Yet whenever great enough slaughter is perpetrated by the worshippers of Khorne, wherever blood flows in lakes and rivers, there Skarr rises once again. Blood begins to bubble and steam, churning like the surface of a gore-filled cauldron, until Skarr rises, red and dripping, from its depths. The slaughter priests claim that the rebirth of Skarr Bloodwrath is a great sign of Khorne's favor, and certainly carnage on an epic scale follows Skarr wherever he goes. Bloodwrath is not a warrior in any traditional sense. He has no interest in strategy or conquest, only murder. Despite this, vast hordes of Bloodbound are drawn to Skarr like carrion to a corpse. Wrathmongers in particular collect around him, their combined violence summoning a roaring, bloody hurricane that lashes the foe with its elemental ferocity. Though Skarr Bloodwrath's psychotic belligerence inevitably leads his followers to a violent end, the destruction they cause first is the stuff of dark legend. Bloodwrath is a horror story made real, a figure of terror in every realm, and many believe his rampage will never truly end unless Khorne himself falls from power. Among the surviving tribes of Camon, a cautionary tale is told of a blood-slick boogeyman who slaughtered his way across the Copperflow Hills. Summoned by an especially gruesome battle between the Acid Fist tribe and the Oruks of the 8th Delving, this figure butchered all who stood in his path. Eventually, they say, he was brought down by the fabled Golden Prince, but not before the hills ran red. Deathbringers. Long and bloody is the path to glory, a twisting and treacherous road along which the champions of Khorne must fight every step of the way. Yet for those that prevail, mighty rewards await, for to the bold go the blood god's blessings. In the heart of battle, the Deathbringer wins glory in the eyes of Khorne. His axe crunches through armor, flesh, and bone. Blood jets as the dying scream their last, while severed heads thump to the ground, to be crushed beneath brass-shod boots. Completely flubbed that. The Deathbringer's furious bellows rise above it all, blending howled challenges to his foes with oaths of devotion to the blood god. Warriors of every stripe turn to the worship of Khorne. Many are born into his hordes, or are forced into taking the dark feast by conquering blood reavers. Some may even be heroes who have fought long and hard against the hordes of chaos, only for the killing to eclipse all that they are. However it happens, once a mortal has dedicated themselves to Khorne's worship, there is no going back. Some champions fight their way to power and greatness. Most, however, face a short and brutal life of battle, followed by a violent death. Those bloodbound who survive this horrific winnowing process are destined to take up the mantle of the Deathbringer. These are Khorne's chosen, and they are amongst the most dangerous warriors in the realms. The worshippers of Khorne care little for formalized ranks. However, most Deathbringers are broadly recognized as aspiring Deathbringers, while the truly great amongst them are known as exalted Deathbringers. Each mighty lord of Khorne has at least one exalted Deathbringer within his gore chosen to act as the lord's second. This relationship is a strained one. While each exalted Deathbringer is without doubt one of the mightiest lieutenants upon which the Lord of Khorne can call, they are also the Lord's greatest rival for power. However, just as the mighty Lord of Khorne must watch for the Deathbringers' challenge at all times, so must he in turn be ever wary for the threat posed by the aspiring Deathbringers who fight in his shadow. Such is the way with Khorne. Taking the skull of even the most powerful allies pleases the blood god greatly, for he cares not from where the blood flows. Slaughter priests. Swollen with the power of chaos, the slaughter priest looms over his bloodbound brethren. Not only is this terrifying figure a mighty warrior in his own right, he is a favored champion of Khorne who is able to call forth dark miracles by drinking the heart's blood of the foe. Slaughter priests are the demagogues of Khorne's wrathful will, dark prophets who receive gory visions of violence and death from their god. With a single bellowed prayer, these hulking priests can boil the blood in men's veins, or whip their allies into a savage battle frenzy. Most terrible of all is the slaughter priest's ability to compel the unwilling to rush heedlessly into combat. His booming chant fills even the foe with a mindless rage, their fever building until once stoic defenders abandon their barricades and battlements to dash, reckless and doomed, into the fury of the fray. All of these powers stem from the slaughter priest's ability to channel the wrathful might of Khorne. This he gains through drinking the blood of truly worthy foes, mixed with potent tinctures of warpstone dust and demon gore. After a particularly brutal battle, a slaughter priest will drink deeply of this foul draught, and it is said that every drop that flows down his gullet swells the swirling moat that surrounds Khorne's great brass citadel. Whatever the truth of this, the mixture's effects upon the slaughter priest are immediate and horrifically pronounced. As a side effect of drinking their hideous concoction, slaughter priests swell with grotesque slabs of muscle. Their bones harden and burst through their flesh. Their limbs stretch and thicken until they loom over their flock, blessed with the strength of Khorne. Such are the priests of the blood god, mighty warriors whose holy powers are bound to their prowess in battle. Those who make unworthy offerings to Khorne do not survive this transformation. Either they deform into monstrous spawn, or else choke and drown as the vile brew they have imbibed boils them from the inside out. Skull grinders. Khorne is a warrior god. Just as the battlefield is his blood-slick fane, so weapons are his tools of worship. Those who craft blades for the Bloodbound are high in Khorne's favor, and first amongst these are the fearsome warrior smiths, known as skull grinders. As they fight for their life against the bloodbound hordes, a warrior may chance to see the hulking form of the skull grinder loom from amidst the madness. For a moment they stare in awe at the smoldering anvil that he hefts upon its chain. Then, as the skull grinder begins to swing this slab of metal in lethal arcs, the warrior's eyes widen in horrified comprehension. With a chain link rattle like a portcullis falling, the anvil snakes out, obliterating its victim from the neck up in a shower of blood and bone. When the Age of Chaos began, the gods bequeathed gifts to their mortal worshippers to aid them in their conquests. Many bloodbound tribes received brass anvils of Khorne to carry with them into their wars. Not only were the anvils used to smith the most lethal blades, but also as brazen altars upon which captives were sacrificed. Many of the skulls in the osseous mountain that holds aloft the blood god's throne were smashed upon these gore-stained anvils. In return, Khorne imbued the weapons of his servants with the raging heat of his own demonic forge. To this day, none know from where the skull grinders hail. They simply appeared, striding from the wilderness. As each skull grinder came upon a bloodbound encampment, he marched straight to the sacrificial anvil that lay at its heart, smashing aside any who challenged him. Legend speaks of fiery light that blazed from each anvil as the skull grinders drew close, demonic fire roaring forth to drive all others back. It is said that the skull grinders reeled long brass chains from thin air, links still glowing as though pulled from the heart of the forge. Wordlessly, the warrior smiths took those chains and attached them to the anvils of Khorne. Hammers striking thunderclap booms as they forged the bond. Demons danced amid the flames, and the bloodbound fell to their knees in awe. Since those days, the skull grinders have become the keepers of the anvils of Khorne. Many skull grinders join with one bloodbound tribe or another for a time, forging their weapons and fighting alongside them before leaving as suddenly as they came. Wherever they go, their favor with the blood god is clear for all to see. Where once skulls had to be brought to the anvil for smashing, now the skull grinders have reversed the process, hurling forth their chained anvils to bludgeon and crush with all the force of a Gargant's fist. So do they summon the forge fire blessings of Khorne. Each skull claimed causes the blades of the bloodbound to grow hotter and brighter, until they melt armor to slag and roast living flesh upon the bone. Blood secretors, high priests of the blood god's creed. Blood secretors bear huge icons of Khorne into battle. Not only do these artifacts inspire the warriors around them, but they are able to sunder the skin of reality itself, allowing the hateful energies of Khorne's realm to spill forth like a bloody gale. Howling in incoherent fury, blood secretors wade into battle with their cornate icons held high. The blood secretors fight to bear their portals of skulls into the very heart of the foe, and there unleash the might of the blood god's realm. They are driven by a battle lust so pure it borders on elemental, an undiluted rage that pleases the blood god greatly. From the whispering valleys of the Olgulans to the igneous delta of Akshi, there are many dark tales of how blood secretors arise. Rumors persist of a sudden madness that strikes when the moons wax full, when blood is spilled upon ley lines, or when certain strange demonic words are carved into flesh. Some claim that a Bloodsecrator's appearance is a sign of the foul influence of chaos seeping into reality, tainting water, air, even flesh with its touch. Still others believe that Khorne chooses his Bloodsecrators intentionally, reaching out to fire their minds and boil their thoughts with visions of blood and slaughter. Whatever the truth, when a man becomes a Bloodsecrator, he loses everything that made him human. In its place, a volcanic rage takes hold, drowning out all rational thought and burning away the Bloodsecrator's sense of self. He hears the roars of the blood god in his thoughts, day and night, becoming a conduit for Khorne's frenzied desire to fill the realms with everlasting battle. Bereft of all but the most basic ability to reason, Bloodsecrators care nothing for their own lives, nor for personal advancement or glory. Instead, they simply fight and kill endlessly, no matter the odds they face. Once a Bloodsecrator's rampage begins, he is Khorne's creature absolutely. Newly forged Bloodsecrators are drawn instinctively to the blood god's realm. There, those who survive this bloody pilgrimage are rewarded with icons of Khorne to carry into battle. More than simply a rallying point for the Bloodbound, the Bloodsecrator's icons are lodestones of Khornate energy, drawing in the rage and pain from all around them. In the midst of battle, these grim icons pulse with a reservoir of furious power that the Bloodsecrators can tap at will. Plunging their icons' hafts into the ground and bellowing their fury to the skies, the Bloodsecrators unleash a shockwave of Khornate power that tears open the veil between worlds. The ground turns to blazing brass and the air to sulphurous fumes. Those of Khorne's faithful caught within this temporary realm flux are driven into a maddening killing frenzy, destroying all in their path as the energies of the blood god's realm infuse them. Blood stokers. Like one who hurls oil onto a raging fire, the blood stoker plies his lash to feed the flames of fury. This brutish champion is a formidable foe, more than capable of flaying flesh and breaking bones. Yet it is his use of others as his weapons that elevate him to true glory in Khorne's gaze. Lumbering into battle amid the roaring hordes of the Bloodbound, the cunning brutes known as blood stokers strike at friend and foe alike with their coiling lashes. The whip crack of each blow cuts through the clangor of war, accompanied by screams of pain as blood-gushing rents are torn in flesh and bones are viciously shattered. Where the Bloodstoker's attacks leave enemies broken upon the ground, the cruel kiss of their lash serves to goad allies to a heightened state of battle frenzy. Such is the way in which Bloodstokers offer praise to Khorne, not only through the shedding of their enemies' blood, but through the rage-fueled killing sprees to which they drive the Bloodbound. On the long and twisted path to glory, the Deathbringers of Khorne must face countless savage battles. Many will seek to win their way to power through the simple application of brute force and aggression. Yet some are cannier than this, seeking out other, more cunning routes to power. Becoming a blood stoker is one such divergent path, centered around the revelation that he who wields others as a weapon can harvest many more skulls for Khorne than any single warrior ever will. Thus do blood stokers learn the arts of the lash and the torture blade, often practicing this skill upon resilient beasts like Gorgoraths or chaos-tainted Drogoths in order to perfect them. A truly tainted blood stoker is a boon to any chaos lord, for he can whip the Lord's followers into a killing madness that sees them spill over the enemy's defenses like an unstoppable flood of gore. So do the Bloodstokers offer praise to Khorne, alongside a mighty tally of skulls. Hand me an axe, and I will slay 100 men for Khorne. Hand me my lash, and I shall slay for him 1,000. Vorkis Skinbeel, blood stoker of the axes of Skarbrand. And that is where we are going to end our video today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please consider liking it, subscribing to the channel, and sharing one or both. I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.